we've talked on the channel quite a bit about Gears 6 and the future of the Gears of War franchise, guys. And in this last segment of the show, I want to talk about what we can maybe expect from Gears 6 when that does release at some point, because for those of you who don't know, Rod Ferguson, studio head at the Coalition, who now of course has moved on to Blizzard working on Diablo 4, he had said and confirmed that Gears 6 and Gears 7 as well as the Gears of War movie are all confirmed. Now of course those things can change depending on what happens within the community and things of that nature, but we're going to say at this point that Gears 6 is definitely going to happen, especially because of the success of Gears 5, how well it sold, how it made Xbox Game Pass go to this whole new level. I think we can all be assured that Gears 6 is coming at some point or another. So let's talk about the things that we can maybe expect within this upcoming game. So let's talk about it. In an article that was written by Rob Gordon of Screen Rant, the Gears 5 ending manages to set up the story for Gears of War 6, which should resolve loose ends from the latest installment. The Coalition has pulled out all the stops, with Gears 5 making some bold choices when it comes to gameplay. In the campaign, this meant the introduction of open world elements via hub maps to explore and some light RPG mechanics. Beyond the gameplay, Gears 5 also pushes the series forward when it comes to its story. The Gears of War narrative gets some more twists and turns, and major plot points and character history alike receive some surprising reveals. And so I think, guys, that we're going to see, there's going to be a lot of things that we're obviously going to see within this upcoming campaign. I think that we can all probably be assured of that. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns, probably a lot more choices that you're going to be needing to make throughout the course of Gear 6. And if that's just kind of, I think that we're most likely going to get that because we started seeing that we've always had to make choices within Gears of War. But I think in Gears 5, we saw that we were making choices, but the choices that we were making were more significant than choosing to go left or right down a path. The death of important characters is nothing new to Gears of War. As such, players have discovered over the years that it's best not to grow too attached to any particular member of the Delta Squad at any given moment. Nonetheless, Gears 5 managed to pull off a pretty shocking moment close to the finale of the campaign. And we all know what happened, guys. How Gears of War 6 addresses this will certainly be interesting to see. With different players choosing their own favorite to save, the Coalition may need to either choose a canonical ending or introduce the carrying over of save data from Gears 5 to its sequel, akin to games like The Walking Dead. Whatever the outcome, ideally there will be a cathartic moment ahead. And I 100% agree with that. I think, like I said, guys, there's going to be a lot more probably choices that you're going to need to make. Now, what's going to be canon from Gears 5? So Del or JD, and I think, I think that JD is more important to the story. And one thing I didn't like about Gears 5, guys, when it came to the story mode, is I didn't like how they were portraying JD. I've said this on multiple occasions. I love Kait Diaz. I think that we should have continued playing as JD, in my personal opinion, even though I think, Kait Diaz has a really interesting story arc. I just don't like how they treated JD in Gears 5. I thought that they made him out to be like a complete douchebag and just kind of, almost kind of acted stupid in many moments in Gears 5. And that kind of bothered me because I really enjoyed playing as JD in Gears of War 4. That's just my personal opinion on it. But obviously, we're going to have a lot of twists and turns, as I said. That said, this wouldn't be the first time that Gears pulled the rug out from under the player. Whether it's Dom's wife or any of the other sucker punch moments that have been a part of Gears lore, it's a series that loves to toy with player emotions. As such, could there be a surprise in store? Gears fans would be forgiven for being a little suspicious of the clean death of Del or JD. After all, their neck is broken and their body is then sucked underground as Kait and the survivor escapes the scene. There's no corpse that remains to be reclaimed, meaning that there's surely some capacity for a return for the deceased party. Of course, this is unlikely to be an easy or happy reunion. More likely, there's the possibility for a swarmed up version of JD or Del to make an emotional comeback as a boss battle, teasing Kait at all with a difficult fight against an old friend. So, look, I think that in this upcoming game, in Gear 6, personally, I'm not even going to lie, guys, I really think that even though I don't think this is going to happen, what I would love to have happen, I think canon, it makes more sense that JD survives and Dell dies. But at the same time, here's the thing, is that they could easily just say that both of them died. Or, whoever you saved in Gears 5 is actually who's still alive in Gears 6. That would be a really interesting concept. I'm not going to lie, though, guys. I would love to go back to playing as JD. Even though I think Kait Diaz is a great character, she's total badass, I would like them to go back to JD or Marcus, give Marcus one last go around. I think that would be really special for the franchise, because I think that we all can feel that something's going to happen to Marcus at some point or another. And obviously we don't want that to happen, but most likely it will at some point. And that being said, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that in the comment section below. Who do you want to play as in Gears 6? Is it going to be Kait Diaz or one of the other characters? Let me know what you guys think. There's undoubtedly going to be one difficult reunion in Gears of War 6. Gears 5 delved into Kait's family lineage, revealing that her grandmother was Queen Mira of the Locust. This family tie means that Kait and her mother, Reyna, also have this attachment, which can be exploited by the Swarm. In Gears 5, Reyna was revealed to be the new avatar for the Swarm Queen, but there's nothing left of her original mind. Now, even though, I think that one of the plot twists that they were they were hinting at, or they were trying to get at, was that Kait was actually going to become the next Swarm Queen, and then of course that didn't happen in Gears 5. What I'm wondering is that maybe she turns in Gear 6, and JD and Marcus and the rest of Delta Squad go after her and try to end this thing once and for all. That would be something interesting as well, to see Kait kind of turn, because we don't think that now. We thought maybe in Gears 5 she was going to turn, and it was kind of her story of turning into the next Swarm Queen, but then that didn't happen. So now you're wondering, now everyone doesn't think it's going to happen. I wonder if they're going to kind of do that plot twist on us in Gear 6. Now, even though the coalition of ordered governments has been a focus of stability and structure within the human forces of Gears of War 4, that's not to say that the game series hasn't cast a critical eye over the COG at times. Gears 5 took this to the next level, investigating both why communities have refused to join the COG overall, and also the secrets that the government has tried to hide. The biggest of these that was uncovered was the COG's role in the creation of the Locust threat in the first place. Scientist Niles Sampson was spearheading research into Rustlung in the New Hope Research Facility, as visited previously in Gears of War, but Kait discovered that this research twisted into experimentation on children while resulting in the creation of the first members of the Locust Horde. One thing I think would be really interesting, guys, is if Rustlung came back into Gears 6. What I mean is they made this like a pandemic, right? Rustling there was like a real problem in certain parts of Sarah, or wherever the case might be. There's something going on, that being rustling, and so you're kind of in this obviously rundown rustic towns. And what I loved about Gears 5 was that semi-open world. Making Gears 6 fully open world would be a game changer, I think, for this franchise. Also, while we're on that, I want to say that with the Locust Horde, I think in Gears of War 4, one thing that drove me nuts about the campaign was the amount of times that we were taking on the robots instead of really the Locust Horde. It started to kind of feel a little bit not as much like Gears of War. Gears 5 moved into a direction where it was kind of half and half, maybe a little bit more Locust Horde than the robots, but they tried to kind of balance those things out, and I really liked that concept in Gears 5. By the end of Gears 5, this revelation was kept away from public eyes, with the facility itself apparently destroyed in its entirety. However, a point could be made about this information being revealed to a much wider audience during Gears 6. With such an emphasis on the outsiders in the most recent run of games, does this point towards such untold tales finally coming to light? That's just a sample of what players might expect from Gears of War 6. However, given all the surprises Gears 5 had over the course of its campaign, fans of the series should perhaps expect the unexpected whenever Gears 6 is set to launch. So, I think, guys, what we can probably all agree to is that we're all excited for Gears 6 and see where this franchise continues. I know there's been, Gear 6 has been at times a very toxic community where people just bash the game for different reasons. If there's one thing that's wrong or whatever the case might be, people just, pile on talking such trash about the Coalition and what they've built, even though I think they're building something really special with Gears of War. Sure, it's got its problems, so do all video games. There's not a single video game out there that doesn't have its problems. And Gears of War is one of those games, guys, that I think has a very passionate fan base, but one that complains about every little thing within the game, and that just it really hurts just the rest of the community and hurts the game as a whole. So with Gears 6, guys, I think that the number of things that I personally want, I want to see Beast Mode return. I love Escape Mode, but I would love to see Beast Mode come back. I think Horde Mode has kind of become a staple of the franchise. You got to keep that going. Multiplayer, obviously, having multiple game modes. I think that they should move into a direction of execution over escalation for the esports scene. And I would say, guys, that as far as the campaign goes, go fully open world. Move, kind of go back to Marcus or move back to JD. Keep Kait Diaz kind of as a side character as she's continuing to maybe turn into the Swarm Queen. And ultimately, guys, one thing that I think would be really cool, though, would be maybe kind of switching between characters within this one in the campaign. I think that would be really awesome as well. With that being said, guys, I think those are all maybe ideas, things that we can maybe expect. Some of them we could maybe expect. Some of them might be just totally unrealistic. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys want in Gears 6? Like, is there any, what complaints might you have about Gears 5, whether that's campaign, the escape mode, the horde mode, multiplayer, esports? Whatever it is, let me know what your guys' complaints or praises are for this franchise and up to this point, and for Gears 5 in particular, and what you guys want to see better in Gears 6. And for more Gears 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.